Well, a very good morning. Thanks for clicking on to the Tuesday edition of Vogan's European Outlook. It has been a pretty wild month in terms of swing between high pressure and low pressure. We, of course, have seen the high pressure, we've swung the low pressure, and now we're swinging back to high pressure. And while it is a fairly flippy type of month, if you want to use that expression, it's not extreme in terms of temperature or even really to an extent precipitation either. While we've got these big kind of undulations of like fairly strong positive down towards slightly negative, way up into extreme positive, and now we're plunging back towards neutral once again. The Arctic oscillation is set to swing back extreme positive, so we're having these big ups and downs, if you see here, off the Arctic oscillation, which is pretty interesting. The North Atlantic oscillation has been somewhat more in the positive territory compared to what was seen in during the winter season, of course. But we're not seeing the extreme cold of March 2013, nor are we seeing the extreme warmth of March 2012, but yet we're seeing in these upper air pattern, we're seeing these wild flips between high and low pressure, which is rather interesting. The month so far, according to the Michael Ventris website, you're seeing largely kind of average temperatures across the British Isles, slightly below, still hanging on across the southern fringes of the British Isles. And as we go through the next several days here, folks, we'll hand off a low pressure pattern back to high pressure. The position of that high, of course, at the moment, generally kind of to the northwest of the UK, feeding in our air from the northwest. Not overly cold because, of course, we're pulling our air in from actually the central North Atlantic. So it's riding up over the top of this ridge of high pressure and into the UK. So it's nothing particularly cold. It is not of Arctic origin. But as we skip through, this is off the GFS ensembles, and of course this is the 500 millibar height anomaly chart here. And you can see here as we skip through the loop here, cold trough underneath high pressure. But what we're going to see is we're going to see this high kind of build over top. The cold runs underneath it here, but it's a generally high pressure blocked type of weather pattern, if you notice here. So as it skips through the loop, you can see here how the high kind of sinks south over the British Isles in the means over the next 10 to 15 days or so here. So that would generally indicate, according to this model at least, and according to the ensemble, which of course is a collection of 51 individual runs, it's all wrapped into the one run. So you've got a little bit more consistency in terms of, or you should have at least more consistency in terms of overall outlook here. But the general overall emphasis is a fairly blocked weather pattern here for during the latter half of March here, or the second half of March. Looking at the 2 meter temperature anomalies here, of course, with the high pressure centered closest to Scotland, we've got somewhat warmer than normal conditions here. Over the next few days, what we're going to see is temperatures running 13, 14 degrees in Glasgow, for example, but they're going to start to trim back. While we have a mild day today, we could push 15, possibly 16 in parts of Wales. What you're going to start to see is, as that high starts to extend towards Scandinavia, we're going to see an area of low pressure that kind of retrogrades west-southwest towards the Low Countries. And what that's doing is it's setting up a kind of east-northeasterly airflow here, but it's generally going to be affecting the areas more across southern Britain. So we're going to start to see temperatures, rather than being, say, plus 10 to 12, we're going to start to see 7 to 8 degrees in places such as Norwich, Ipswich, and down even through the Greater London area. We could be seeing temperatures stuck in single figures. Nothing extreme, nothing unusual really for the time of the year. But what we're going to see is we're going to see basically below normal versus above normal, in conjunction with the upper air pattern at this moment in time. But as we skip through the loop here for the 2-meter temperatures, you can see here below normal firmly across the southwest. Then the temperatures start to moderate slightly, but it only moderates towards average, not shooting above average. So it's going to be interesting when we go back towards the end of the month. It's going to be interesting to see what the temperature normally is for the British Isles here. My hunch would be slightly below normal across the southern portion of the British Isles, above normal probably across Scotland here when all is said and done. And I think we're going to start to continue to eradicate this warmth over Central Europe, and we're going to start to see more cold anomalies showing up across Iberia and France based on these latest runs here. Of course, in the recent video I talked about the La Nina and the cooling effect it's had. This is the 2-meter temperature anomaly for the month of March so far. So this is the first half of March, and arguably you've got a larger area of blues here. So it's been a fairly cold month, extending from really far eastern Europe right the way across the northern portion of Eurasia, all the way into Alaska, northwestern Canada. We've got warm weather. We've had very warm weather indeed across parts of the Middle East, across the subcontinent here into China. Mongolia's had record-breaking warmth as well. And then, of course, we've seen also very warm conditions across the northern portion of the United States as well. But all in all, I think the La Nina continues to have an effect here. We had temperatures globally roughly around the average for the 91 through 2020 period here. And it's going to be interesting to see what the global temperature is for the month of March here. So this is a theme that I'm going to continue to try and look at as we go through the spring season, the global temperature, and seeing how the La Nina has the influence. And of course, if you haven't already, do check out the article that I wrote on the website yesterday, which talks about the La Nina and even to an extent the solar minimum, how it's having an impact in bringing down the global temperature. So something that I will continue to look at as we go forward here. So an up and down theme. High pressure is going to remain largely the dominant force as we go through the second half of March, and potentially on into April as well. That's it for today. Hope you have a great day. Back in the next couple of days with more. Bye for now.